So who has the authority to investigate elected officials in Idaho? A county prosecutor looking into a county commissioner's possible criminal conduct, for example, might be considered a conflict of interest, which is why Idaho law allows the Office of the Attorney General to intervene and handle that investigation. But that's about as far down the ladder as the AG's office goes. City elected officials are out of the state attorney's purview. Well, there's a new bill being introduced that looks to change that. But there are two lines in that bill that raised a few eyebrows in terms of investigating open meeting laws. Joe Paris takes a look.
Sometimes in the law, there can be inconsistency or maybe even a gap.
It's unfair that the Attorney General has authority to investigate elected officials who are county elected, but not city elected.
Representative Bruce Skog realized that gap could create some conflict of interest issues at the local level. So he drafted House Bill 390. It expands a specific power of the Attorney General.
We get calls all the time about issues with city elected officials and other people, and we always have to explain we don't have the authority to do that.
Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador explains that a few years ago, the legislature gave the AG's office power to look into illegal activity at the county level, but it didn't extend to the city level. As it stands, county prosecutors investigate the city level, but that can get tricky for practical reasons.
These cases are hard, and when you're a local prosecutor, you don't always want to be investigating people that you work with. You don't want to investigate, the city officials that maybe you're working with or the county officials that you're working with. So it's better for the Office of Attorney General to be doing that.
Because we know the city and county officials, sometimes they're working in the same building or next door.
Correct, yes.
That's uncomfortable for somebody to blow a whistle when there's something inappropriate. When they're working with that fellow all the time, or woman who's a prosecutor, then there's a tendency to not investigate.
So what do county prosecutors think? If passed, the law would assign their current jurisdiction to the AG. I reached out to some county prosecutors, including Grant Lobes. He's a Twin Falls prosecutor and a board member of the Idaho Prosecuting Attorneys Association. Lobes tells me that on this specific legislation, he has no objection. Like Skog and Labrador, he has a similar concern with the current law. He writes to me, quote, "Because of the inherent conflicts of interest that often arise when local prosecutors are asked to investigate and prosecute local officials whom they may work with and know, there is always the potential implication by one party or another that the local prosecutor is being too hard or too soft on an official they know." There has been chatter also about two lines in the legislation that have been crossed out in Idaho code, dealing with investigations into open meeting laws. A sensitive topic, but Labrador explains this is a cleanup of code.
When this law was initially drafted for county elected officials, it said that we would investigate civil and criminal activity. But there was an exception for not investigating open meetings law violations at the county level. Apparently, a couple of years ago, they withdrew the section that said that this was a civil investigation also, and it's only criminal investigation. So that language was just not necessary anymore because open meetings law violations are civil, they're not criminal.
The proposed law would also open the door for corrective action instead of jail and fines at the city level, like it currently has with the county elected officials. And an example I can talk to you about right now, Brian, is the Attorney General saying there's a situation that, we're looking into it. It appears that it was a genuine mistake that was made. In committee this week, the very specific example was also given that there was a county level elected official that had a county credit card and a personal credit card. They looked visually very the same. So one was accidentally used. There's a full investigation into it. Now this law, if passed down to the city level, you wouldn't have to get someone in legal trouble. There could just be corrective action and say, hey, separate your cards.
Okay, so the other side of this, so aren't there enough county prosecutors out there to handle a city investigation?
Right, and there are. I don't think this is a manpower issue. This is strictly, counties and cities, they oftentimes work closely together.
Okay.
And especially in rural Idaho. So you'll have times where, two people know each other off the clock. At work, it could be kind of awkward trying to get them to investigate each other.
All right. We'll see what happens with this one. All right, thanks, Joe.